Hello everyone, thanks for joining me today. This is Jim at Jim's Garage Toys, and I'm going to be doing a quick little update on my GR Corolla. So one of the things that when I first got it that myself and a lot of other people have done is to upgrade their wheels or change them out or something like that. So I'm not a huge fan of all black wheels, and I never have been. But until I find the wheel that I really want, I'm gonna go ahead and install some spacers on these wheels to fill out the wheel well a little bit better since they're sucked in. So this car does have a 10mm spacer from the factory on the rear. So I have some 15mm spacers for the front and some 25s for the back because I'm going to take that 10mm spacer off. So here we have the two spacers. This is the 15mm one, and this is the 25. So, and you can see that it's much wider here. I'll kind of put them back to back so you can see. There you go. So a couple of things that I will point out using adapters or spacers. So don't be afraid to use these. These, if done right, these are an excellent way to get and change your offset, especially if you got a set of wheels you like. And there's no sense in buying a whole other set of wheels when a set of spacers is much less money. So, but a couple things that you want to look at. So, first of all, you want to make sure that the bolt pattern is correct. In this case, it's a 5-bolt pattern on 114.3mm. So that's what both these are. And many times these will be stamped into it, as you can see right there. So 5.5 or 5 by 4.5. 4.5 inches is the same as 114.3mm. The 60.1 is the bore circle here, the hub. So you want to make sure you get that, and you always want to make sure you get a hub centric. That's what this lip is right here. So that will mimic and be the same as the OEM hub. So, and then this shows right here the 15mm. This one on this side is 25. That's what the last two digits are. One thing I want to point out right away is how massive these brakes are. These are just huge. I've never had a car with brakes so big. And this is also a good time to clean it up a little bit in there from the brake dust that's on the caliper. So, but man, beautiful looking brakes. Now, one thing I want to show and explain. On the back of a wheel, so here's the back of my wheel, you can see, so here's the holes for the lug nuts, or for the studs, but then in between each one, there's a little cutout. Now, not all wheels have these. These are the OEM wheels, so what this will do is this will allow the OEM studs to clear. So remember, I'm only doing 15mm spacers here. So you want to make sure that when you put the stud on, that it clears, the OEM studs clear here. You don't want them, you want this face right here to get up flush with this. So if it didn't, it would rock on there, and that's when spacers are bad. Now, if you're doing a 25mm spacer or bigger, no issue, because that's thicker than how much these stick out. But we'll go ahead and see and make sure that this 15mm spacer will fit. One thing that I want to point out also is you can see the lip here on the hub. This is what I was telling you, that make sure you get a hub centric, because this is the same surface as this. This face right here is the same surface as this face. That's why when you put this on, it snugs up perfectly to that, and it will not, you can see it does not slide around. So that's exactly what you want. So now you can see when I put it on there, you can see how this OEM stud sticks out past the face of the spacer. So this length here cannot be more than the hole is deep. And I can tell looking at it right now that the hole is deeper on the OEM wheel than this sticks out. So I'm going to be in great shape, and this should work out perfectly. So while I was in here, since I had the wheel off, I decided I cleaned up the caliper really nice, and then prepped it with some prep spray before ceramic coating them. So I went ahead and used the same ceramic coating that I've used on all my cars, and put a nice little layer on there just to help keep them clean looking and easier to clean, so because they are beautiful. I've got my 15mm spacer on there. Next step is to do the lug nuts, or the nuts that they give you. So these will recess in beyond that. So, but one thing I like to do on these is I like to put a little bit of Loctite on them in the blue just to help hold them. I'm going to put a little bit on each stud. So now they're snug. So the next thing you got to do is you have to torque them. So just like your lug nuts, you want to torque these. So I have a torque wrench specially for that, so I don't have to adjust it all the time. There we go. So all 5 are torqued. Now it's all set to put the wheel back on. All right, we've got the spacer bolted on, torqued down, so it is ready to go now for the tire. I did take the opportunity to clean the wheels when I had them off. So the thing you want to always, if you're in doubt, always look in here and make sure that the face of the wheel, of the back of the wheel, is flush with the adapter or spacer, and that there's no wobble to it. So this should bolt right in like that, and I don't feel any wobble to it as I move it back and forth. I could tell just by looking I had enough space, but that's how you can always make sure. One of the things that I'm hoping this does is, if it looks really good to me, one of the sets of wheels that I'm looking at is the same exact size as the OEM. So that would be nice, because I'd like to use these wheels for winter tires. Go. Perfect. Oh, I like that. I don't like any poke, and there's not. It's right up to it. So even if I went to a 245 tire, I'll be really good. Oh, I like that. I like that a lot. See how much more it fills. It's right flush with this here. Right with the edge of the fender. The edge of the tire is exactly the edge of the fender. Oh, that's perfect. So moving on to the back wheel, I wanted to show everyone that here's the factory spacer. You will notice that it's hub centric. It's got the lip on it, which will line up with the inner lip. Not 100% sure why they did this and why they didn't just make the disc face a little thicker, but that's what they chose to do. So theoretically, I guess you could stack spacers. I don't want to do that. I want to take this off, and since this is 10 millimeters and I want to add 15 to it, I got 25s for the rear. So these OEM studs on these are longer. They're extended studs because they had to make room for the spacer. So here you can see, here's the 15 for the right front that I'll use, but you can see just setting it in there, that looks just like the front I just did with how much space is sticking out. So on normal studs, 25 will cover the whole stud and you won't have to worry about it. But this being extended studs, because they put that spacer on from the factory, we'll have the same amount of poke on the stud, but not a problem with these wheels. These, I just noticed there's actually a little screw right here for an Allen wrench. So we will go ahead and take that off. That's probably what holds this on, is what I'm guessing. There we go. Now they do have some 10 millimeter threaded pieces so that if it was rusted on, the car's new enough. Have the same process here on the back one with the OEM spacer off. We will put 25 millimeter on there. Got my thread lock blue. That way it helps lock them and keep them from backing off for some reason, but you can get it off. Now the beauty of the rear is I don't have to worry about the spinning because the parking brake's on. So we can just go around and torque these quickly. Torque for Toyotas is 76 foot-pounds. So now those are on there. Now all that's left is to put the wheel back on. So got the wheel back on, all torqued down. What I wanted to try to show you, whoops, sorry, is here's the seam right there between the wheel and the adapter, the spacer there. So, and you can see how it's nice and flush. There's no gap, so it's not sitting on those studs. So that's what you want. There we go. That's great. Let's drop it down and see what it looks like. So this looks great too. You can see as I come around to get flush, it just tucks in. Just tucks in. So, I mean, that's perfect. Once again, the tire, the edge of the tire and the fender are right flush. So that means the tread kind of rolls in a little bit, so that if it was a big bump or a load in there or something like that, that it would clear the edge of the fender. And these are plastic on these, so it's not like you can roll them. You have metal, so. Oh, that looks amazing. So much better. Now, why didn't they just set it up just like that from the factory? Okay, So basically, guys, that's what the process is. So if you have any questions or comments or anything like that about using spacers, you know, please holler, comment, see what you think. But I've got friends that race Porsche 911s, and they put the newer style wheels, 911 wheels, which they also, it's completely different from the older, and they run 35 millimeter spacers while racing without any issues. So if you install them right and do it right and get a good quality billet aluminum hub centric spacer, you will be just fine. So thanks for joining me. Hope this helps. And for any of you guys that would like to do the same thing, because you don't want to spend the money on a set of wheels, or the set of wheels that you like is the same. Like I'm looking at a set right now that's the exact same size as OEM, which make this real easy if I put winter tires on these wheels. So, well, thanks for joining me. Until next time, guys. See you down the road.